All right, guys, let's clear up the question about deportation numbers. Um, yeah, let's just clear it up, okay? So I this time I'm using ChatGPT, right? I was pretty much done with Google. So then, I want to know what was the numbers of uh, uh, uh deportation under Obama versus Trump, right? Check it out. During the Barack Obama presidency, from 2009 to 2016, there were about 2.7 million removals by the Department of Homeland Security. This figure includes both formal deportation and under administrative returns. In fiscal year 2014 alone, around 414,000 people were deported. Some sources say we've read slightly higher figures, but 2.7 million is generally considered the most reliable total. Okay, let's go to Trump. Alright, guys, so I want to take 60 seconds to recognize my sponsor. Big shout out to shopcampsupply.com. Shopcampsupply.com has everything you need to embrace the outdoors. You don't need to go any further than staying on the home page, essential gears and equipment. Click the right arrow. Everything you need is right there for you to get active in going outdoors and enjoying your time in the wilderness and getting away from the cities. Again, that's Shop Camp Supply at www.shopcampsupply.com. Go check it out. During the Trump administration, there were roughly 932,000 formal deportations over the first term from 2017 to 2021. If we include estimates from second term and voluntary departure, the total could exceed about 2 million. The exact number varies depending on how deportation is defined. Okay, so now I'm going to look at more into details of what's going on currently. Okay, so ChatGPT says the claim that 92% of people deported by ICE were non-criminals isn't accurate. In reality, recent data from Cato Institute shows around 65% of those booked into ICE detention had no criminal conviction. So I was right? Like, that number 25%, a violent criminal or criminal um convictions, right? So, around 65%. Those booked into ICE detention had no criminal conviction, right? So remember that 25% that we were looking at, or 24% or whatever, right? Um, on the NBC report on my last post. So the figure of the 92% seems to be misquoted or exaggerated. You know what I mean? Yeah. So sorry, AOC, ChatGPT say you exaggerated your numbers. And I feel bad for your audience, because your audience is being gaslighted. You know what I mean? That's how messed up this thing is, right? Your leaders are lying to you. That's what ChatGPT is saying, okay? All right, so then I continue to ask ChatGPT, give me a rough estimate of, like, what potentially might happen during the Trump administration with deportations, right? Like, what are the numbers? And this is what ChatGPT said. From 2025 to 2029, the Department of Homeland Security report about. So we're talking about like an estimation of the future. This is what ChatGPT is giving us, like, the hypothesis. Okay. Um, the Department. Okay, so it's reported right now, currently, that it's around uh 605,000 deportation in roughly the first 10 months of 2025, suggesting an annual rate of around 600,000 to 700,000 removals, right? However, some independent estimates put the figure closer to 270,000 to 290,000, right? So like even the numbers that they put up, 607,000 removals, that's based on, like I believe self deportation. You know what I mean? Like a lot of it wasn't even ICE. You know what I mean? Like so ICE did a roughly about 270,000. So has Trump administration been humane out of the total of 600,000 to 700,000 removals? If those of them were actually the incentive program for them to self remove, which was they were giving $3,000 per person to move, right, and so they could self remove themselves. You know what I mean? I don't know how non-humane that is when you're getting paid to leave, right? On top of what you were getting paid to live here. I'm not. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to be mean, but like you know what I mean. It's just you know what I mean. Like it's worse when you watch people try to squat and then they what you call that they try to use the eviction moratorium or whatever, right, to stay. You know what I mean? Because that's awfully painfully sad. At the same time, it screws over the landlord, right? And it's just a very bad situation. You know what I mean? Like for squatters, this is from tenants and landlords, right? But in this type of scenarios, you know what I mean? I mean, in Minnesota, they're asking for that, you know what I mean? Like eviction moratoriums, right? Because the quote unquote Somalians aren't able to work because they're afraid to to be out in public or whatever, right? And they can't pay their bills, you know. I don't know, but yeah, so those are numbers, right? 200 70,000 to 290,000 for the full year of 2025. Overall, the estimated range for the entire second term is roughly between 300,000 and 400,000 per year, but it remains a bit of a projection, right? Um, yeah, so we're not even looking at a full 2 million. Um, that's still kind of under the mark when it compares to Obama's um, uh, two full terms, right? Because Obama's two full term was roughly 2.7 million, and like with this estimate, right? If you're looking at it, you know what I mean, like you might the second term you're looking at maybe under 2 million, and then if you're looking at you know his full term the first year, it was like under a million, like 700,000 or something like that, right? So we're looking at about the same amount, but you know what I mean, like you know this whole thing where record breaking or whatever, right? Yeah, Trump, like he wants to be able to do that, right? But like like he's not the authoritarian that that these AOCs and Bernie Sanders make him out to be, right? He's not communist, right? He's doing everything as humanely as possible and as nice as possible. You know what I mean? Like they are looking for criminals, you know? Whether you like it to believe it or not, they are. You know what I mean? It's just that when you're protesting, impeding, and giving these storylines where it villainize law enforcement. It doesn't help with the cause of making everything right. You know what I mean? You guys got to look at that in that way, because you know what I mean. They're not gonna stop. They're not gonna stop, and he's not authoritarian either. So what do you have? Democracy at play right now. All right.